20 seasons, over 1,400 games, over 38,000 points scored, LeBron James is going into the record books as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. A record that surely nobody's ever going to be able to break, right? Wrong. That exact record that LeBron is breaking was thought to be unbreakable for decades until now. And what if I told you that the guy that's going to break whatever mark LeBron eventually sets when he retires, over 40,000 points scored, that record is going to be broken by a player that's in the league right now. Really quickly though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. And with the big game coming up, you know that PrizePicks is going to have a special offer, and it is a free square for Patrick Mahomes. If he passes for 1 or more yards in the Super Bowl, that is a free square selection on any that you want to put together. And that is in addition to the 100% deposit match up to $100 when you use code SPORTING. You click the link down in the description below. Again, you have that free square for Patrick Mahomes, and you have the 100% deposit match up to $100 when you click that link in the description. You use code SPORTING at PrizePicks. And again, as a reminder, or if you're new to PrizePicks, this is just you against the numbers. You go online, you go on the app, and you look at what they have for each of these games. You can combine sports together. Obviously, you can do NFL stuff, you can do NBA stuff, and they have numbers for a lot of different players in a ton of different categories: passing yards, rushing touchdowns, interceptions, rebounds, assists, points scored, and you just pick between 2 to 5 players on any given night, and you select more or less for each of these selections. So for example, you can use your Patrick Mahomes free square, and then you can pick 2 NBA players on a given night. And if you get these correct, then you win some cash. And of course, I always want to let you guys know about any extra offers that PrizePicks has coming out. Keep an eye out for that free square for Patrick Mahomes. And again, that link is in the description for a 100% deposit match up to $100. And you can use code SPORTING as well. And thank you again to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. First, let's give some history on this record. LeBron is passing Kareem, who passed Wilt Chamberlain, and Chamberlain initially set the new career scoring mark in 1966 at nearly 21,000 points and went on to score over 30,000 in total in his career. Funnily enough, LeBron scored over 21,000 points in his career, even if you just count his 11 seasons in Cleveland, and he had almost passed the entirety of Wilt's career scoring numbers before he even signed with the Lakers in 2018, which gives you an idea of the crazy pace that LeBron is setting here. 18 years after Wilt first set the record, Kareem broke it, and when he retired at the age of 42 in 1989 as the all-time leader in more than half a dozen different categories, it was assumed that the scoring record specifically was the most unbreakable record in basketball. And now, nearly 40 years after Kareem first passed Wilt, LeBron is now breaking that previously seen as unbreakable record and is going to continue to expand on it. And again, if that previous record of Kareem's was seen as unbreakable, then this new one set by LeBron certainly is, right? No, not quite. There are more than a few candidates in the league right now that are clear candidates to making LeBron's reign as the all-time leading scorer in league history a short one. And this new wave of elite scorers is going to have plenty of advantages over not just Kareem, but LeBron as well. First things first though, we need to come up with a list of players that are at least remotely close to LeBron's scoring pace to this point in their careers, and ideally find some players that are even outpacing LeBron as a scorer to this point in their careers. And those guys do exist. So we're looking for a young player, a player that came into the league at a very young age and was immediately one of the best scorers in basketball when they got to the league. And to me, one of the first names that comes to mind there is Anthony Edwards. And one of the reasons that Edwards came to mind for me is that you have to get off to a fast start in your career if you want to have any chance of catching LeBron. LeBron scored 20 points a game as a rookie, and Edwards was right there as well. And another reason Edwards is a candidate here is because he is durable. He really doesn't miss any games, and you could easily see him being a 25 to 30 point per game scorer for years and for the entirety of the rest of his career. And obviously, if you're going to be catching LeBron, you got to be playing a ton of games. So how does Edwards' scoring pace match up with LeBron's? As of this video, Edwards has played in 198 games and scored almost 4,300 points. Through his first 198 games, LeBron had scored just over 5,000 points. So not quite what we're looking for here, but at least the criteria is there, and we can certainly do much better than this. And what we need is a player that to begin their career actually outpaced LeBron as a scorer, and that guy is Trae Young. In his first 2 seasons, Young played in 141 total games and scored a little bit over 3,300 points. And in LeBron's first 141 games, he scored less than 3,300 points. So to that point, through his first 2 seasons in his career, Young actually outpaced LeBron as the all-time leading scorer in league history. And critically important for Young, he has something that is essential to any modern player breaking this record, and that is the 3-point shot and the scoring boom that comes along with it. If you want to have any chance of catching LeBron, LeBron, you need to outpace him as a three-point shooter, and we all know that Young has a great three-point shot. That's a huge part of his game. Okay, but what about Young's career scoring pace compared to LeBron? To this point in his career, he's played 326 games and scored a little bit over 8,300 points, and in LeBron's first 326 games, he scored just under 8,800 points. So unfortunately for Young, he's already fallen behind the pace, and there's another issue for him. His body type typically does not age as well as guys like LeBron. There is a long history of smaller guards that are not as durable, don't play as long into their careers, and are not as proficient as scorers later in their careers. Guys that rely on quickness and are smaller guards. NBA history tells us that they're just not as durable late in their careers as guys like LeBron. And again, if you're going to have a chance at this record, not only do you need to keep pace through your prime, but you also need to be a proficient scorer even into your mid and late 30s. LeBron's averaging 30 a game right now as he approaches 40 years old, so you don't have a chance if you can't come close to that. So barring something unprecedented for smaller guards in league history, Trae Young's out of this conversation. Which brings me to the guy that I believe has the best chance of any player in the league right now to actually pass LeBron as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. A guy that is actually, throughout the entirety of their career to this point, outpacing LeBron as a scorer, and that guy is Luka Doncic. At the time of this video, Luka has played in 310 NBA games and scored 8,500 points, and through his first 310 games, LeBron had scored just over 8,300 points. Luka got to the league at 19 and was immediately one of the best scorers in basketball and has continued to develop into one of the most devastating offensive forces that the league has ever seen. He gets that boost from the three-point shot that we talked about with Young earlier, but critically, he has a play style and a body type that is going to age much better than Trae Young. It's very easy to see a player like Luka that doesn't rely on crazy athleticism and is a bigger player. It's easy to see him continue to morph his game as he gets older to still be a 25, 26, 27 point per game scorer even into his mid and late 30s. In comparison to players like Trae Young, these guys are just more durable throughout the history of the league. And that is the blueprint to breaking this record, getting off to a fast start, playing for a long time, having a bigger body, being able to shoot threes, and being durable. But unfortunately for Luka, there's one thing in that list that he doesn't have on the same level as LeBron, and that is durability. LeBron has been, especially in the early parts of his career, one of the most durable players that the league has ever seen. In his first 8 seasons in the league, he never played less than 75 games, and through his age 30 season, he had only had 2 years where he played less than 70 games. Getting in as many games as possible earlier in your career before, even for someone like LeBron, it's incredibly difficult to stay on the floor consistently, is crucial to trying to break this record. And Luka, meanwhile, even though he's not missing a ton of games, isn't as durable as LeBron was early on in his career, and it's clear that he doesn't share the same kind of passion for taking care of his body the way that LeBron did throughout the entirety of his career, and is one of the main reasons that he's been able to stay in the league and stay such a proficient scorer for so long. And that's what you need to understand about this record. It's not about scoring. That's not the legacy of the NBA scoring record. I don't think anybody would argue that LeBron is the greatest scorer in NBA history. I don't think anybody would make that argument for Kareem either. Arguably, that guy is the person that Kareem took the record from in the first place, Wilt Chamberlain. There's a reason that every time a modern player does something crazy scoring-wise, Wilt's name always comes up in the record book. But unfortunately for Wilt, he started his NBA career at 23, as you did back then, and his days as a dominant player were over just 10 years later. He had an entire season where he averaged over 50 points per game, but over the next couple of years, he's going to get pushed outside of the top 10 in career scoring in league history because he just didn't do it for as long. By the way, you can't blame him. It was a totally different era of NBA basketball. And like I said, the legacy of this record is not scoring. It's consistency. Kareem established the previously thought of as unbreakable record with a career points per game average of 24.6, which is only the 16th highest career mark in NBA history. Michael Jordan, KD, Allen Iverson, Dame, all these guys and more have a higher career points per game average than Kareem, but none of them did it for nearly as long. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean that Luka can't be the guy to break LeBron's record. It just means that he'd have to continue to play at his current pace for a total of 20 years. The math here is simple. If Luka is outpacing LeBron right now, all he has to do is play as many games as LeBron does in his career, and he'll be the new all-time leading scorer in NBA history. But even Luka has come out and said that he doesn't see himself playing nearly as long as LeBron has. And so the path might be clear, but the real challenge is getting there. So if it isn't going to be Luka, then who else is on the list? Well, in terms of guys in the league right now, it's going to be really difficult unless someone like James Harden or Damian Lillard does a Tom Brady and plays till they're like 45 years old. It probably isn't going to happen. Maybe it's the destiny of Victor Wembanyama or some future phenom, the next LeBron, to break this record. But in terms of guys in the league right now, statistically, Luka has the best chance. But fortunately for modern players, they're going to have advantages over guys like Kareem and LeBron. Every big-time scorer that comes into the league is going to have the benefit of the three-point shot and the scoring boom that has come along with it. We've seen incredible increases in scoring over the last couple of seasons, as well as advances in athletic training that are allowing guys to play longer into their careers and well into their late 30s like never before, which of course is how LeBron came to break the record in the first place. All of which is to say that just like Kareem before him, whatever mark LeBron sets when he does eventually retire might seem unbreakable, but it simply won't be. LeBron will become the first 40,000 point scorer in league history, but there is at least a non-0% chance that he won't be the last. And that's proven simply by the brilliance of players at such a young age like Luka. But the real challenge isn't scoring, it's dependability, and no player in league history has been as dependable as LeBron James. His passion and determination to take care of his body has pushed the boundaries on what we all thought was possible for a late 30s basketball player, and as a result, he set a new NBA record not just for scoring, but for consistency. And although there is always a chance that the next LeBron will come along and break this record, they would have to do something truly historic.